David Parsons, thank you for being here. Can you tell me a bit about your area of research?
Well, the area of research I'm talking about in this conference is around micro-credentials. So it's something that as an institution, as the company I work for, we've been looking at micro-credentials in some detail, trying to work out what they're for, you know.
You're at a computing conference. Can you make that link for me?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So the particular micro-credential that I'm reporting on is about software development. And I think the broad question for me is, if micro-credentials are different to normal qualifications, what can they offer? And specifically in our context here, what can they offer in terms of something about software development? And I think the underlying thing is, when we talk about computing in education, we tend to be very siloed. And I think that suits some people. There's an awful lot of people out there who are interested in computing in general. They're not that technical, but they're very applied, and they want to understand the broader ideas. And I think that's a niche area that's not being well addressed. And so I'm trying to bring those two things together.
Can you tell me about your paper? What's the result?
Well, it's a very, sorry, yes. So the paper is basically about the way that we approached the design of this particular micro-credential, hopefully with a broader theme. So talking about why we designed it the way we did, what kind of audience we were hoping to reach, and what some of the outcomes were. And I think the main thing for us was that we did kind of see the types of people who were coming along were experienced professionals, not necessarily working in software development, but interested in how it works. I think one of the questions that I sort of put to our students initially is, we often think about software in a very negative way. It's like, why does it take so long? Why is it so expensive?
Sure.
And why is it useless? And I wanted to maybe approach that from two perspectives. One is understand why it's hard, but also if people who work with software developers have a better understanding of what's going on, I also hope that knowledge can help the software development process. So if people are in other roles but they're working with software developers, whether they're they're doing end user testing, or whether they're doing requirements, or whether they're participating in design workshops, if they've got a better understanding of what's going on, I think the relationships can be improved. And if the relationships are better, then hopefully the whole software process can be better, faster, cheaper, more effective.
Okay. Will that be the result of the impact of your research?
Well, let's hope so.
It might be a small start.
Yeah, tiny thing. I mean, I think I'd like to, maybe what I'd like is for other people to think, yeah, maybe this broader approach to reach that audience is something that other institutions might want to take on, because I think there must be people all over the world who could benefit from this kind of postgraduate education.
Can you give me a few examples? What institutions?
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, we're a small private graduate school, so we can do flexible and interesting things, but if you look at like larger universities and so on, the types of offerings they tend to have on the whole are not those kind of more specific things that people want to do just as a one-off. They don't necessarily want to do a degree, a diploma, a certificate. They want to go and get something, but they want it to be of the same quality, but maybe of a different scope and addressing a more applied aspect of professional practice.
How's the conference so far?
It's good so far. I mean, only been to the early session so far. I particularly enjoyed the first keynote. That was absolutely fascinating.
What's the first keynote about?
So that was really about the end of Moore's law, and what the implications of that are, and how we might continue to develop the power of machines when we get to the end of the silicon era. I thought that was a really interesting discussion on where we are now in that journey, and where we're going to possibly go in the future with that.
How was your lunch?
Oh, terrific.
And what are you looking forward to?
That's a very good question. I mean, I think the good thing about this conference is it's very broad. So you look through the topics and there's all sorts of different things that you can say, oh, well, that's interesting, that's interesting. Not necessarily directly in my field, but things that, I have maybe some experience with or some interest in. And I think that's the great thing about a conference like this, is you've got all of these different options and you can pick and choose the things that you can develop your own interest in. And I think that's the great thing about any conference, isn't it, really, that you go along and expose yourself to, you don't know what you're going to get, a random set of papers, but there's nearly always something you walk away with that makes it worth turning up for, I think.
Let's hope so. David, thank you so much.
Thank you.